wearing the same shoes?
I think we are wearing
Winning.
the same shoes. Exactly right. I love this.
They're my favorite style. I think the Donovan's been
Yeah.
like my favorite shoe so far.
Yeah.
And having like the Gary one, I think is pretty dope.
Pretty pumped about it. I haven't broken out the white one too often. I've
The
broken
high
it out
tops?
like, yeah,
Really?
2 or 3 times. I think I got to start getting that back into my
Is
rotation.
it because you don't wear high tops or what?
Mhm. I think it's high tops. I think it's because I don't tend to wear high tops.
What are you drinking over here?
Water.
Just water.
Literally water.
Just water.
That's not even literally just water. I don't know. I just bought it at the airport. There's
The
nothing
packaging
behind.
is actually really dope.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess randomly sometimes I'm like, if I see a box water next to plastic, I'm like,
Might as well do
I
that.
might as well do that. But but it's not like I don't use plastic.
I'll give you another can of water.
Is it the death?
Yes.
Yeah, liquid death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you been drinking that?
I've had it a couple times. We know those guys. One of the founders used to work at Vayner.
What?
Yeah.
Do you guys just produce like crazy entrepreneurs?
Yeah, Gary does. I
Touche.
won't take credit for that, but I'm just a part of that ecosystem. I'm a byproduct.
I'd say you're a bigger part of that.
I appreciate that.
All right, well, let's get right into this. Are you already live?
Already good, yep.
Oh, shit.
yeah.
All right, let's do this. Okay, what's up, K-Swiss? This is episode 3 of the K-Swiss live podcast. I already forgot the name of it. I'm sorry, guys.
Inside
Inside
K-Swiss.
K-Swiss podcast, episode 3. This time my co-host is the great and powerful Tyler Schmitt.
That sounds like a Wizard of Oz introduction.
That's actually a ripoff of Joe Rogan. He always says that.
The
When he
great
like
and powerful?
introduces his like really good friends, he always calls them the great and powerful, which I
like
think
it.
is really awesome.
Yeah, man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz.
Touche. Well, for the viewers, I'm sure you guys know who Tyler is. He is Gary's right-hand man. One of my favorite things about Tyler is when Gary isn't present, you're the guy.
I attempt to be.
And that's a pretty big responsibility.
It has been and grown into more and more of one over the years, but I love it.
It's funny that from the first time I met you to now, it's been a little over a year, and your persona has evolved so much more. It probably pays off hanging out with Gary a lot.
Yeah, and other individuals.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And just, I think as everyone's evolving, everyone's changing. It's
Evolve or die, right?
That's just facts.
So I have a few questions that I wanted to ask you about your own personal social media, the content model that you guys have created, because Gary actually pioneered in more ways than one what it means to create content. And lately you've been creating a lot of content for yourself. What's up with that?
Yeah, I love putting out content. Personally, I've always loved it. I started, it's funny. Instagram, I remember the first place. I remember exactly where I was when I downloaded it, and Twitter much more. From the days of flip phone and like SMS Twitter.
Yeah.
I've always loved social platforms. So for me, it wasn't. And Gary might argue this, but I didn't get into the world and then get into content. The only reason we linked up was because I was always a big Apple fanboy. I was always, then social platforms, early tech, and Twitter. And I like meeting people. And that's really, I think, content is gateway to connection, and that's where you put out more content, you make more connections. That's, I think, the simplest form of it. If you don't put anything out, you don't have the ammo to make the connections, right? You put up an Instagram story, it gives the option for someone to respond. You don't, they don't have the option. So I think it's and so much more and more and more and more like mental state and mindset has like, I'm very aware of how that affects the want to post, the creative juices, all that like has become super like apparent to me, and I try not to fight against it too much. Whereas I think Gary's become such a beast in terms of it's nonstop. A lot of times the number one question is how do you stay there? How are you always in the mood to want to post something? Because if you post something, a lot of people, when it comes to content, most people think it's all on the upfront and then you hit post and the content's done. Whereas in real actuality, and especially if you're being fair to your consumer, it's actually, that's only the first half. Then you have to deal with the responses, what comes out of it, the learnings, the insights, the communications.
Exactly.
Right. And so I think you're not being smart if you're putting out content in a world where you're not willing to deal with the response. I think that's very short-sighted. And so I'm trying to be smarter about, not necessarily putting things out that, are asking people to engage with when I have no interest in engaging back with them. And also not being, unreal in the sense that, I don't want to talk to everyone all the time. That's what I do for a living, I'm constantly in communication. And so sometimes I just don't want to. And therefore then I'm fine with not posting today.
And I have noticed that, and it's cool when you do come back, because I've noticed you've done that a couple times. And when I see you come back, I tell myself I should probably do the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to take a few days, a month, whatever you need to realign with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Unless that's your job per se, 100%, you have no excuse. You have to keep going and going and going.
Yep. And I think also the notion of especially with Instagram, I think much more Instagram than Twitter, but people think their next post has to always be better than their last post. And by better, that's the amount of likes or views on a video. And that messes people up too, big time. Because then you're I'm not sure if this is good, or how is this going to, how are people going to react to this? And if it reacts poorly, then my next one's going to react poorly because of the algorithm, all that jazz. And then that really messes with your mental state, all that. So, yeah, I think having any sort of audience can be very mentally draining, and you need to be cognizant of that.
I've thought about the audience thing a little bit more lately. At least my mind's been going to a different space where I don't necessarily care about how many people, quote unquote, like it, but what you said really hit me, which is if I'm posting to engage, then engage. Otherwise, what are you trying to even share?
Yeah.
The whole thing that Gary's been talking about lately, how you posting for likes is selfish. And I think about how true that is, meaning, why am I even posting?
Yeah, what's the value exchange here?
Yeah.
If you're taking advantage of the person who's seeing your content's time, no one's winning in that situation. Or if you just want to post, for me, I'll just sometimes post a picture of me and my sister and not care or whatever. that makes me happy, and I'm going to put that up.
Well, how many people right now are on Gary's team? Because that seems to be growing, and I saw you guys posted 33.
Yeah.
What's the content model like with you guys? How does it all work?
It works by not what I would say is not being romantic about the output, meaning all of it is learnings, and there's if you always default into I learned something, you can move a lot faster than even our mistakes. A lot of times the mistakes are the biggest revelation of everything, because you're oh, now I know how to audit the process, or now I know how to change this or change that, and you only do that by constant action. So for me, and how we had a great conversation yesterday, how does it work? By a sheer culture of habitual action. I think about habits a lot, and I think that it's very hard to build habits and it's very hard to break habits. But if you can build a habit of creating content, right now, but I open up Instagram, I can't because my phone is busted, which is annoying. But if you build habits of putting out content, it's very hard to break them.
Is there, if Gary was here, for example, and you were Gary and you guys were recording, what is the content process like? Because I think a lot of people, you did put out the content model, but what does that really entail?
We would take this long form piece of content. It would go to someone back at the lab. Now what we do is it would be two videographers in here, one person recording, and then D-Rock, who's doing some production stuff, whereas he'll be on Gary's phone doing social, assets in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
He'll also mark moments and cut up clips. So from this, if we had a 30-second clip, that process would hopefully be done, in the next 4 hours, where we have the clips, and then the long form piece would go back. that gets slotted in. We do it long form. There'd be a couple quotes that would come out of it. Twitter, and so it's long form and is just fodder for short form.
There you have it. Those
boulders
are
into pebbles, but also pebbles into boulders.
Say that one more time.
Like if this is a 30-minute conversation.
Yep.
That's a boulder. How many times can you hit that and create sawdust or pebbles? But also create your own pebbles that you get the context, learnings, insights, and ladder up to boulders, right?
Mason, that's a clip right there.
That's boulders and pebbles was that was from Tuesday. That was the first time I ever thought about it. Boulders and pebbles. We talk about sawdust a lot.
Yeah.
But the boulders pebble thing was.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. Pebbles is a fun word.
What do you guys have going on? I know you and Barney were talking a little bit about Gary V05. Is there anything that you're allowed to share?
We'll be at ComplexCon.
You heard it, ComplexCon.
We'll be at ComplexCon. I think that's the first time we've communicated that. The 005 is, I think, like, as we've been down this whole process, the one that Gary's most excited about. Obviously, because it's that that represents so much for him from an authenticity standpoint. Every other shoe has kind of had a name, a theme tied to it, clouds and dirt. And this one, as we're going down it, it's like, it's authenticity, but it's really just the 005. There's no theme to it, because that is the authenticity, that is self-awareness, that is be you, be yourself. And I think this shoe is the one we did the most design work. This is, and I mean, we're live, but it's a brand new silhouette.
Yeah,
it's the first time we've done that.
Yeah.
But in the past, it's been existing silhouette. Then we have a theme, and then we make a colorway against it. This is the first time, and we very much wanted to build a new silhouette from the ground up, in hopes that would be a basis going forward.
The silhouette's really dope. I saw the whole process for the most part, and especially the sneaker that's going to release at ComplexCon. There's some details on that shoe that really took me by surprise. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah, we're pumped. We're incredibly excited about the direction that we went in with it. And as myself, going through the whole process, I mean, sitting in the room and just like going through sketches was a dream come true. And working with MJ and Brian on that was a blessing. Like, it's super cool. We literally, from being in a room and just having ideas to coming up with the silhouette, has been super neat, and I think we really landed on something.
Well, can't wait to share the sneaker with you guys.
Same.
If we had it here, just you could imagine how awesome that is. One thing that Barney and I are doing with this podcast is, and the video format, is we want to cover three main things that you guys actually led the way, which is creating tons of content. Mm-hmm. We just went over that. We are trying to be as transparent as possible. Mm-hmm. Who's doing what, why we're doing what we're doing, hence this podcast and other things. Yeah. And then the third thing is knowledge sharing. We really think that there's a lot of value in sharing.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly. Education as a form of value add and entertainment for a brand is incredibly powerful, because every human is generally curious, and if you can be, if K-Swiss teaches a consumer about sneaker culture, or how a sneaker's manufactured, or the process that you go through from ideation, or why certain products come out in certain windows, seasonality, colorways, high top versus low top, split on all that stuff.
Yeah.
If K-Swiss can simply educate consumers on that, and then they decide, oh my goodness, I actually love sneaker culture, and go and buy other products that aren't K-Swiss, that's still incredibly valuable for K-Swiss. One, more people involved in the industry and in the culture will help the brand either way.
Exactly.
And then two, people don't forget that. Like, you just don't, whether they're purchasing the product or not, they might tell someone else that I got put on by K-Swiss, and now look at what that's led me to, discovering, this new brand or this new style before it hits. And then they have the conversation with their friend who then looks up K-Swiss, loves the content and or, some of the silhouettes, and then buys. Like, that's super real, but people don't account for that. It's not showing up anywhere in terms of your market spend, return on, spend or what have you.
And that's probably one of the best things. Barney and I were talking about this, is we want to do more of that, because exactly that. This isn't a show to be like, hey, buy our shoes.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially for the culture
Mm-hmm.
and what that means. And hopefully by people buying in, not even buying into it, but understanding the culture and learning more, that it will influence them to do something greater that they wanted to do.
By all means.
All right, last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll end this, is, and you kind of already covered it, but we want to share just some sort of tip, a business tip. Is there any sort of thing that you would love to share with the viewers or listeners, either something that you're reading or that you're thinking about, just something that comes directly from Tyler Schmitt?
Yeah, well, I put up that video yesterday. It's been going through my head for a long time. When Apple first put like the apps in SMS and text messaging, but I think text messaging is is a social platform, is social media. Everyone just like throws out social media as like certain terms, but I think text messaging, it's got 100% open rate, and they are all pipes are being built to, being able to access on the back end as an advertiser. Text messaging is a social platform. On the new update for iOS, if you look at when you go to open text messaging, and now you get prompted every time to share your contact card.
What?
You've
I
seen
have
that, right? So they prompt you to say, do you want to share your contact card? Because if I'm texting you and I share my contact card, and I'm texting you and I share my contact card, and then both of you they want everyone to have the same card for me, right?
Because it's
then that's my social profile, right? And then I can control, and people are like, oh, but do you want your, would you want everyone to have your cell phone number? Well, just like on Instagram, you have the ability to have a private account that you have to accept everyone that, already right now, SMS, if you text me from a number that I don't know, it puts you into a different folder. I can turn on my permissions on Twitter. I can either have open DMs or closed DMs. It's no different than my cell, right? And then if you think about Apple Pay, the way that Apple Pay is plugged in with now credit and debit, they're going to start paying you to have, because even if they start paying you 1 cent or 2 cents, if you think about that at scale, and now I can text that to you, they'll start paying me to allow K-Swiss to text me. Because K-Swiss will pay Apple.
Yes.
And then Apple will give me a percentage of it. And so if I receive 1 cent every time K-Swiss texts me, that goes into my Apple Pay account that I can either use to pay off my credit card or pay for my Spotify subscription or send it to you because I owe you $5 from dinner last night. Like, that's the ecosystem that Apple's building. And I'm super long and passionate about Apple in general, but I think the text messaging component as a social platform plugged in with payment
next level
is super, super next level.
That's interesting. That sounds amazing. I'm definitely going to pay more attention to that.
Yeah.
I've been doing something that Jordan Harbinger talks about. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yep. Art of Charm, right?
Exactly. Well, now that Jordan Harbinger.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
he's
exactly,
he's just, I know he's been around forever.
But exactly.
Forever.
He talks about how he'll sometimes just go through the bottom of his text messages and the last name or whatever, he'll reconnect and figure out why. And I've been doing that more specifically because I'll go to the bottom like, oh yeah, this person, or whose number is this? And I'll just say, hey, sorry, lost your contact, or never put it in, just want to say what's up. And that's interesting. That's just...
Yeah, I mean, right? And again, I'm in a 1% in terms of the amount of communications that I'm getting on my phone. But if you look right here, just the amount of unread text messages, right? Then it's like, what is the difference? There really isn't. And again, like, I think over time it'll get caught up. But what's the difference between this and my Instagram DMs?
Nothing. That looks
or
exactly
my Twitter
like
DM?
the DMs.
There's nothing different.
Yeah, it's
There's
the
nothing
exact same
different,
thing.
right? And so if you just think about it that way. But what Apple's done is they've plugged in everything from your credit card info. All of that is already baked fully in, right? So when I open my text to you, because I texted you and said I was coming upstairs, you've got all these apps right here. I can pay you. I can send you what I'm doing from a workout perspective. I can send you Spotify song. And then McDonald's, like right in here, like I can just order McDonald's. Soon enough, I'm just going to text McDonald's, deliver me a Big Mac, Face ID, and then it's going to come. And then if I use my Apple credit card, they're going to opt in 3% daily cash back. If I spend $100, I get $3 back. And then I owe you $5 from last night's dinner. I just text you that right there.
Well, Apple, you should.
And Google will do it too. Like everyone's doing Amazon, like it's all, but it's just the services nature. Hardware over time is just going to be kind of, what you're going to have is a core hub that is going to connect to your glasses, to your watch, to your ring. Whatever.
I've been trying to only carry my phone as payment lately, and it's one of the greatest things. I went to a grocery store and I just thought to myself, I don't even need my wallet. Let's just try. So I went there, got everything I needed, and I was like, all right, here we go. Oh shit, they already have the pay.
Apple Pay.
Boom. Even our vending machine here at work, I was like, wait, this does it too. So everywhere I've been going, I'm just paying it with my phone.
Yeah. And then if you have the watch, like Amazon just did the ring, like then that over time, then this just stays in your pocket, and then becomes the hub that just communicates.
Damn. Well, thanks for that. That's freaking awesome. I didn't even think about using it like a social media platform, my text messages, that is. So really appreciate that insight. Guys, thank you so much. You guys are super awesome. I guess I should do the shout out. There's two people. One of them is the Clever Bean. These guys are cool. You should check them out. They are two entrepreneurs. They are from Draper, Utah, and they have been wearing the dark clouds every single day, and they finally just got obliterated. So they ordered the 004s, and so they only wear K-Swiss when they're working, and I think that's awesome. And then Andrea Martinai.
Yep, Martinai. Yeah.
Shout out to her. She posted a photo of Heal the Bay this weekend. We had a competition where we participated in global cleanup, and she went out to the LA River, wasn't even at the ocean, and with a crew of people cleaned up a bunch of trash. And I think that's awesome because, like I said, you didn't have to be at the ocean to make a difference. You can literally stop the problem before it even reaches the water. So shout out to her for doing that. And that's about it. Guys, please follow Tyler at Tyler.
Yep.
That's it. And and we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Beginning of November?
Beginning of November.
Stay on the lookout. 005. And then
at Complex on November 2nd.
Rolling out on the back end of that.
And hopefully one day we'll see a Tyler shoot.
And respect to Omar, because what you started working here just on some I want to help do social, right? Because I remember we started talking, and it was just you were working either remote or mobile. You had the relationship with Barney. He kind of had you as a little side ninja, that he kept in his pocket to do things. And then now you're sitting here and doing this, right? And I, strictly from the teachings of Gary, it's changed my complete mindset on it in terms of the people out leverage themselves, meaning that running, thinking that getting out of interacting with the community or community management is below me, or I want to manage the people that do the community management, you actually lose context. You tend to out leverage yourself. And for when I first started working at Vayner for Gary, it was next October, I want to get the raise because that's what happens from kindergarten through graduating college. Just for existing for a year, you get a promotion. But actually, and I know because I know you well, and you remind me a lot of a kid named Zane on Team Gary. It's actually when you are just constantly doing action and work versus trying to just manage people who are doing action and work, you know more than anybody. And so respect. I was pumped.
Appreciate it. Damn. Appreciate that.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys. That's it. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.